Alright, we're going to start up in the terminal. Go into the folder that you want to create this new app. Mine is specifically Rails. What folder? Okay, I got it here. So cd KimRails. Okay. So I'm in the folder that I want to create my app. And just like we started Hello World, we're gonna do Rails new, and this is the command for creating a new or generating a new Rails app. So Rails new, and I'm gonna call mine BlackJack. There, it's generated all the files. Okay, my headpiece is something wrong with it right now. I'm trying to fix it. Alright, there. So now that it's uploaded, I'm gonna go to that folder, and that folder is in KimRails. Right here. Now there's two because I already created on my own before I recorded it. So that's why there's two. So here's the BlackJack, and I'm gonna drag it into Sublime because I prefer looking at the application in Sublime because it makes it more organized and you could see the code faster. So BlackJack, and the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up routes. So I find it a lot easier to not actually have to click everything and find where the files are. You know, config and then look for routes and then click routes. The shortcut is it might be different on your computer if you don't have a Mac, but you can just click Control P and then you just search in routes and click enter and it takes you there. It's a lot faster. Rails app. Okay, so just like the drawing we drew, the first thing we want to do is we want to create the first page that the user comes to, which is going to be the cache-in page. So, and if you remember, that's a GET request because that is just showing them the content or showing them a visual image of words saying welcome to BlackJack. How much cash would you like to give, or how much cash would you cash in? Would you like to cash in? And it's just an input box. This is all just visualization stuff, so it's a GET request. So GET, and then we're gonna type in the address. GET slash, we can call it cash in. We can call it anything we want. I'm gonna call it get start because this is the start page. Start, and then next part is to is the add where you're saying where to go if someone searches in get start. So then go to controllers. Alright, controllers. No, I don't know why I was writing controllers. The name of the controller, it's not made yet, but let's call it BlackJack, and all controllers need to be written in its plural form. So BlackJack would be BlackJacks. So BlackJacks, and the action would be start. So save the document, and now we need to go create the controller file. So open up apps, or you could do, open up apps, controller, and right click controller, new file, and save the document as BlackJack's controller. Remember plural, you gotta do plural or it's not gonna work. BlackJack's controller.rb. Save, and then the regular format, class, BlackJack, not capitalized. You only capitalize when there's a space. So if I wrote BlackJack and then space Jack, then it would be black capital Jacks. But since it's not, it's just BlackJack's controller, and then inherits from application controller. And I explained that last lesson. Name the action, start. Let's do some indentation. There. In this action, we don't need to do anything because all we're doing is displaying the start page. So we're not doing anything logical or processing anything in this action. So it's empty. The only reason it's here is so that it can go through this route and show the content. So from here, Rails is smart enough to know that once it finishes the action, it's going to go look into the views for a folder that's named after the controller, which is BlackJack's. So we're going to create a new folder in views. It's going to be called BlackJack's. BlackJack's plural, you got to make it plural. And when we're in BlackJack's, we're going to create a new file. This is going to be the HTML file, and it's got to be the name of the action. So start.html.erb. So let's test this all out now. And before we do that, just quickly type in bundle install. Oh no, I forgot to what's it called? CD or go into the file, the BlackJack app. So CD BlackJack. So now we're inside the BlackJack folder, and if I type bundle install now, it should work. Bundle install. Now bundle install, if you don't know what that is, bundle install is I'll go into that in like 5 minutes. No, probably 2 minutes. Really quick, right after I show you this. So we're going to test it out, Rails S. Make sure it's all working. Get the server running, Rails S. And then we're going to go on Google Chrome. And we're going to type in localhost 2000. It's going to take us to this default page. We're going to search in start. And there, it brings us to the start page. So if you wrote something like welcome to BlackJack, save, come back to the browser, there it is, welcome to BlackJack. So got everything running smoothly. But say I want this page to be the first page that comes up when you type in localhost 2000. I don't want to see this page. Change that. It's pretty simple. You just there. So that's how you do it. Instead of writing the beginning address, which is get start, since we don't need an address to get to this action, it would just be root, which is it's automatically a get request. It's not going to be a post request. So if we search in this address, which is nothing, it's going to come to our router as whatever, localhost 3000, but there's nothing that comes after. Like, you know, usually we have the /start, but since nothing is there, there's no address, so it automatically sets it to root, which goes to the BlackJack's start, BlackJack's controller start action. So with that, let me take this out. Save and reload. There. the address localhost 2000, and it brings us to the start action of the controller. Now this is really ugly. Let's make it look better. And for this, we're just gonna use Bootstrap. If you don't know what Bootstrap is it's like packaged code, not packaged designed code. So if you're too lazy to do your own HTML designs and CSS, you could just use Bootstrap. But again, if you're doing your own thing, you're trying to make your own website that actually looks nice, you shouldn't use Bootstrap, because Bootstrap is like, it's like what you do to make some project really fast and you're not planning on like making it actually used a professional. It's just like what we're doing right now, just so that it does look, clean, but it's not like so good and like what you want that you would use it for your website. But because it's in that kind of middle, or more bottom to the middle, it's really easy to use, and you could focus on coding instead of having to focus half of the whole effort on just making the design. And so when you're learning how to make applications, or you're coding your own application just to get better, using Bootstrap is great, because you're not going to get crappy things looking like this. You're going to get stuff that actually looks like kind of good, but not real professional looking or good unique websites. So the way this works is, I actually tell you getting started. It's really easy. There's a specific one for Rails, and I'm pretty sure it should say here. Actually, no, following the website's directions are a lot harder than using a gem, which is what I said I was going to explain to you when I typed in bundle install, and I just said, okay, I'll explain to you in 2 minutes. So we're going to use this thing called Rails Bootstrap Gem. This is a gem. This is something totally new. It's imagine if some guy had a code, or like he created some application, and in this application, one of the things his app featured was like being able to what's a cool function? Being able to count how many visitors come to your site, or how many visitors visit that exact same, or that specific page on your website. And he codes that. He can compress that into something called gem, and upload it onto the internet for other Rails programmers to get, so that they can take that piece of code or of the program that he's written, and it's in a format so that other Rails developers can take that and implement that into their application really easily, without totally or fully understanding the coding of the gem. So if there's like a gem that allows, or not allows, or that enables YouTube videos to be played on your website, I can install that gem into my app, and then there'll be some documentation that makes it really easy to use. Like I could just type in YouTube URL or something in some part of my website, and it'll show a specific YouTube video. And really, there's so much more coding that it takes to do that same function, and I don't need to learn all that stuff. So that's what gems are. So this gem is not really so much for logic. This is just, if you know HTML and CSS, this is just importing tons of different CSS styles and JavaScripts and HTML, so that you can use by just putting in simple commands, simple lines of code. that's so again, if you don't know HTML and CSS, you should definitely take a course, like some course on HTML or CSS. On Khan Academy probably has one. Code Academy has one. Or W3 schools. You can find one anywhere. So here are the directions. So it tells us this for Ruby on Rails. This is how you install a gem file. You simply get this code, gem bootstrap sass, and you look inside your folder, and there should be a file called gem file. Rails has specifically made a file so that you could input these gems from online and install them into your app. So this is what this folder is for. These are all gems that each Rails app automatically installs. So there's Gem Rails 4.2, Gem SQLite. Gem SQLite allows you to work with SQLite, which is a type of database storing information. All these things have a function. Right now I'm making the document look cleaner because there's all these gray words which are comments, which means they don't actually code for anything, they're just comments, and I don't want to see them, so I'm just deleting all of them. So now I'm gonna paste in the gem for Bootstrap. So paste gem bootstrap sass 3.36. Now what this is saying is this is a gem bootstrap sass, and we wanted to install the version 3.36. Oh, if you didn't know how to exit out of your server, out of Rails S, you just type in Control-C and you exit out of it. Now, I typed this gem into the gem file, but it's not just gonna install. I gotta actually send a command to the computer and tell it to install the gem. So just like what I did earlier, bundle install. And it's gonna install everything that's in here that has not been installed yet. So now it has been installed. So if we look through this list, you should find it. Bootstrap. Where is it? Oh, yeah, I saw it. Okay, right here. Bootstrap sass 3.36. So that's installed. Now we have it. And what that did is basically just install a bunch of CSS code and JavaScript code into our application. So it's stored somewhere in our application, I don't know where, but we can access it by just calling out the different classes and IDs that specify them, and we could find all of that by looking over here. So you could go around, like say we want to design for a button. We just have to use these specific classes, btn default, and say we make a link, and it'll create one of these because there's pre-written CSS that's installed onto our application. So this is like the documentation on how to choose what. It's like a brochure. You see what you like and you can use them. Okay, like, oh, I like this large button, I want to use it. So the name of that class is btn primary btn.large, and I just specify that class into whatever I forgot what they're called, whatever tag I'm using, and it'll create this design. Exit out of here and we come back to our start HTML file. Now if we look at this does not look like a website. What do all websites have? All websites have a nav bar. Nav bar is the thing at the top with, it's got like a nav, it's a bar at the top with the different links. Come here, over here, this is a nav bar, all this stuff. We're going to create one of them, a really simple one, just to show you how to use Bootstrap Components. And we're going to look through their categories. So navs, that looks like what we're looking for, nav bar. Alright, I kind of like this, so we could use this code. But there's too many stuff here. I don't need any of this like search stuff, drop down, or yeah, I just want this. This looks simple enough. This is what I want. This image right here. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this code. If you know HTML, then you should know what this is. It's basically just saying a nav tag with the class navbar, nav default, and this is the CSS part, and there's a specific class somewhere in our application that defines what these classes are. So navbar has a specific segment of code detailing what it does. Same with container fluid, same with navbar header, navbar brand. Just like imagine if this was a CSS file. Like say we're defining a class called purple text, purple text, and inside it says color purple, text size 20px. You should be familiar with this. This is CSS. This is what, and this is the name of the class, purple text. So just imagine we switched this to navbar, and we had more defining stuff inside that detailed what a navbar was. That's what each one of these classes are, and all of them are described in the gem file that we installed. So with that, I'll just delete this, copy and paste this code to here, and if we reload our page, oh yeah, we got to rerun the server. Rails S. There. Oh, what is going on? Oh, I know. So there's a little more than just pasting in this Bootstrap gem. So if you keep reading, it says, okay, bundle install, which we did, and then now import the Bootstrap styles into application SCSS. So we go into our thing, or our file folder, and like I said before, this assets place, this folder, this is where all the design stuff goes. So it even says JavaScripts and style sheets. We're looking for style sheets. This is where CSS goes, and here's our application CSS file. Now these are all comments. These don't matter. This stuff does matter. Basically what this is saying is, when it says required tree, it's saying that if there's any other CSS file in the same style sheets folder, upload it into this file, so that all the CSS could be in one file. For some reason, Rails prefers to have all the CSS files in one file to be uploaded online, so that's why it does it. It doesn't do separate CSS files. So that's the point of having this thing require tree. Require self is basically saying make it so that any CSS typed in this specific application.css file is included in what gets uploaded into the browser when people look at our website. And we gotta rename the application file. It's right now application CSS. We gotta change it into application.scss, which means application SAS CSS. Come back here and we paste in this. The reason why we changed the name to SCSS is so that we can type in this import bootstrap sprockets. This is SAS language, and that's why the S is there before the CSS. What this is saying is import, it's telling the file import Bootstrap sprockets and import Bootstrap stuff from the gem file over here, this gem file, and import all the CSS that it installs into this file. No, we're not going to see it, but it just does. It does it. We save. Now if we go back, we should be able to see the new design. It's loading. Okay, there we go. Now we can see we got this nav bar even though there's no image. So we go here. We don't want an image. We don't need an image. So we'll just make it BlackJack. BlackJack game. Remember to save the file, reload. There, BlackJack game. Now we got our little nav bar up here. Now you're probably wondering what, and I should have explained this probably in the last lesson, because if you were thinking, you're probably confused the whole time. But if you think of a normal HTML file, you know, you got the normal header where it says HTML. I forgot what other stuff it says. It's like doc5 or something. And you got the head, and then you know you got the body, and then you got, you know, the end of the HTML file. Just to format it. There, you get this, right? But we don't have any of that. We just have these little snippets of HTML. It doesn't make sense, but it does. I mean, obviously it does. I mean, we just don't the full picture. We don't see the full picture. What this is doing is this is a Rails thing. This is the file, the default file that Rails uploads for every single different HTML file in our views. So say we're on the start page. We're here. The start page. And if we look at the contents of this code, we inspect. Oh, if you didn't know that, you can click inspect and you can see the HTML code. So we get this HTML, we get the head with all this stuff we've never even seen. Like, where does this even come from? The only thing we can recognize is this part, the nav, because we just input it. See, it highlights it. Nav bar. But where did all this stuff, head, title, link script, where did this come from? What Rails does is they have a file called application .html.erb, this one that we're on right now. And this is the this is what Rails, what is sent to whenever someone sends a GET request to like our web server. The response it sends back for the user to see on his computer screen is going to be always contain this code. So this is the beginning of the HTML file, HTML, head, BlackJack. The title is what you see in the bar right here. You know, BlackJack right there. And this just describes, if you know HTML, you should know that this is basically importing the CSS into the file so that we can add some styling to our web page. Normally on you're probably used to it being saying something like link to this specific file, or I forgot what it's called, but it's like style sheet link, something like that. But Rails has made it so it's called a style sheet link, and then you're probably wondering, what is all this stuff? Media, all data. You don't need it. In fact, just you should delete it. Delete it. But you gotta remember, if you delete this stuff, what you have to do in order for the application to work is you have to go into JavaScript application.js and you gotta delete this thing called turbolinks. Turbolinks is terrible. I mean, it's not actually terrible, but if you're a beginner, I was stuck on that error for a long time. If you don't do that, you'll be stuck on an error. So you delete that. Remember, delete. There you go. This is where all your JavaScript code goes, by the way. So we're back here. So basically it's saying to see our style sheet, to see our CSS stuff, go to the style, or go to assets / style sheet / application.css. So look, assets is right here, style sheets, and that's what this link is going to, except you don't need to include any of this stuff because Rails already knows where your CSS is stored in. And I don't know what this is, but you need it. And then finally, this yield. Yield is where the start file comes in. So if I copied and pasted this for that, that's what we would get. If I reload, I get the same thing. No, wait, that's a terrible way of explaining it. Or a simple way. Look. So have yield here. Reload this. Oh yeah, just so you can visualize. If you add some stuff here, you'll end up seeing it over here too. So there, see, we got that stuff. That was over here. Now if you delete yield, what's gonna happen? Bam, it disappeared. Why did it disappear? Because yield is where your specific views files, like start html.erb, gets shoved in. So this stuff gets goes in the place of yield. Break. Goes in the place of yield. Alright, break time over. And then another thing, you're wondering, what are these alligator equal % things? This is because this is not HTML. So if you know HTML, you're not familiar with what this is. This is Ruby. That's why our file says application.html.erb. The ERB section of the name is specifying that the file is also Ruby. So then when we're in the file, how does the computer know which code is HTML and which code is Ruby? The way we identify or differentiate Ruby from the HTML code is we do these alligator signs with %. And so there's two kinds of these things. There's either the alligator sign without the equals, and that will just have Ruby code inside, but none of the Ruby code that's inside will be able to get viewed on HTML. So say inside we type in what's some Ruby code we can do. Let's say this is Ruby, even though it's math too, 5 times 2. Let's take out the yield for a second. 5 times 2. We're not going to see it. It's not going to show up. And why does it not show up? Because there's no equal sign. It's simply just running. It runs the code. It does 5 times 2 and it gets 10. But since there's no equal sign, it's saying that whatever is in between these alligator brackets does not come out. What is coded in here stays in here. But if you put an equal sign, it allows it to show up. So there, you see 10. And that's because we added the equal sign. So if we look at yield, yield is the same thing. Yield is a specific Ruby command saying that for whatever specific URL it's on, it's going to look for that view file, views file, which is start. Say we're on the start, we're on the home page, we're on this address. It's going to go look at routes, and it's going to find the home page, which is the root, and it's going to go to BlackJack start. It goes to the start, it's empty, and then from there it's going to find that HTML file, which is the start HTML. It's going to get it, and it's going to bring it, and it's going to paste it where yield is. So if we take out the equal sign from yield and we search in something on the URL, we're not going to get any results. We're not going to get any of the start HTML file. But if we put an equal sign, then you'll see all of it show up there. And that's because there's an equal sign. So now hopefully everything on this page, you understand what every single thing does. So style sheet, this just uploads all the style sheets, all the CSS. This uploads all the JavaScript. This, I don't know what it does. You don't need to know what it does. And yield is just uploading the specific views HTML file for that address. Alright, so now that we went through that whole process, or whole how the Rails works on connecting the views and everything, start designing the start page. This is the nav bar. This is the nav bar, and we want it to show up on every single page of our website. So it would be better if we copied and pasted this code into the application file, because this is the file that gets uploaded for every single type of GET request or web page that gets uploaded from our server. Whereas this specific start file, you only get to see this code when you search in start or you go to the home page. And we want it for every single page. So that would be a big headache if we had to just copy and paste the same code for every single different one of these files. So we'll just copy and paste this into application right here. And we should get the same thing. Alright, there we got it. Make sure you save. If you don't save, you won't see the results. So on this page, we want to have something that says H2 welcome to BlackJack game. There. But I want to arrange it in the middle, and I don't want to do CSS to do it, so we're going to use Bootstrap. And we're going to use something that they call this grid ins. Grid in. Look for the grid in. Where are the grid? Can't find it. Oh, grid system. Okay, you can read all this stuff if you want. Grid system. This is like an HTML thing. Bootstrap has a cool function where if you make a new div class and you give it a, wait, let me copy and paste this, and you give it the class name row, that's the same thing as you creating a div that goes all the way across its whatever boundaries it's permitted to as a row. But we want to put the reason it does that is so that we can organize where we put information like a grid. So we got row, and then we got all these different columns, and each row can have a maximum of 12 columns. So if that's why there's 12 different one of these. So it'd be the same thing if we just, not same thing, but it would equal the same thing if we just ended up with column 4, column 4, column 4, and that ends up with 4 different columns. So you'll get something like a grid. So if I could draw this out, it's like this is the web page, and when you type in, when you do that div row thing, whatever div row, with 4 different columns, columns, it creates a row and 3 different columns of equal size. Just pretend these are equal size. And remember how it said call 4? Each one of them is column 4. That's specifying the width. So this is going to be 4, whatever units it is, 4 units, 4 units, 4 units, even though it doesn't look like it. Just say it's not meant for scale. And within these little different divs, we can input whatever we want, and it will display that stuff. So if we do a smiley face here, show here, if we say welcome, on the 3rd column div, it'll show up on the 3rd column. Yeah. Check it out. Oh, we didn't save. There, see, now we get it organized into 3 equally spaced areas. Now the spacing I want is, I want it kind of in the middle. So I'm going to change the arrangement to 282. It adds up to 12. But the middle one is the biggest, and that's what I want. And I don't want anything in the columns on the right and left. So just move this. Let's open up this div. Add more stuff into it. Take that out. Let's input this into here. There we go. Now that looks a lot better. So welcome to BlackJack. And we want to include a well. No, I mean, I'll just do it, you'll see. Alright, we're going to name this class well. And if you look at Bootstrap, there's a thing, you know, if you type in Bootstrap well, you get this image over here, and I want that. So div class well, and we'll say h3 or h4. What is your name? What is your name? See? There. So what is your name? What's the second question we want to ask? I'd rather have this smaller. Okay, there. 5. What? How much cash would you like? How much money would you like to cash in? Each 5. Alright, but these are just questions. We want to have some place they can input stuff. Like what is their name? I can't type it anywhere. How much cash do I have? I can't type it. No space right there. And that's where form comes in. If you do HTML, you should know what a form is. You should know what a form is. So this should be nothing new. So form, and let's add this stuff in. If you don't know what a form is, go find out by doing HTML, learn HTML. But if you're kind of rusty, I'll do a brief explanation. Form is anywhere where you input information, and to do that, you create the form tag and form tag, and let's just take this out so you could get it more. We're gonna put it back in later, but this just make it easier to look at. So inside the form, we want the place where they can input stuff, and that's called I think it's called input. Yeah, input, and then it's gonna say type, and the first one is a string. So it is a string. This one is a string because they're going to be typing in their name. So if you now open this up, hey, see, we have an input box. This is a form. Now if you took out the form, I don't think the input would work. That's why you got to have form there. See, actually no, it does work. So you got to have it there. Form, and let's add the question back in. Actually, let's add the input type. This is for how much money they have. So this is I think it's called number. And we want to have space in between them, VR. Space, okay. And then now let's add back the questions. What is your name? Okay. How much money would you like? So over here, you know, you can type in Austin. Over here, you can type in $1,000. But then, how do I cash it in? How do I send this to the website? There's nothing I can do. If I click enter, nothing happens. There's no button. What do I do? So that's where now we enter the submit button, and then I'll go into the Rails part of it. What submit buttons are actually doing, and yeah, that'll be next video.